Good afternoon, everyone. Good morning to our friends in Hawaii, if we have any of you with us. Today, we are excited to talk about supports that are needed for early colleges to succeed. To start with, we'd ask that you type in the chat box, please, and not the Q&A. Also, we would prefer if you would put questions in the chat box and not the Q&A. What state you're from, what type of organization that you represent, whether that's high school, higher ed, a state agency, or other, and what role you play in that organization. My name is Steve Combs, and I'm Senior Early College Coordinator at an organization that's called SEL, and we'll talk a little bit more about what SEL is as we go in our presentation. We are an outward-facing center located at the University of Indianapolis. My background has been all K-12 education. I was a high school teacher for several years, and my last position before coming to SEL, I was an early college high school principal. So I know for me, I'm excited to be able to talk to people all over the country today, and we have a great group that's here. And we'll start off by, I'll hand off to my colleague, Sandy Hillman.
Good afternoon. My name is Sandy Hillman, and I'm the Director of Early College at SEL. Like Steve, I have a K-12 background, high school principal, middle school principal, teacher, and actually have been a director of an early college program in a large urban high school in the Indianapolis area. So, Janet, your turn.
All right. Hi, everyone. I'm Janet Boyle, Director of the Rural Early College Network, which is a subset of the larger early college program at SEL. And prior to having this role, I was Executive Director at SEL, as well as some other roles. And prior to that, I was in both K-12 education and higher education. So worn several hats and had my feet in several places. So how about Nina?
Hi, everybody. My name is Nina Arshavsky. I work at Early College Research Center at UNC Greensboro. And our team is serving as evaluators on a couple of projects that SEL is doing with early colleges. And we've done a number of research and evaluation projects on early colleges in different states.
Great.
Oh, sorry about that. Here, real quickly, we just want to talk about the agenda and then what some of the outcomes we hope that you'll get out of this. First of all, we'll talk about what SEL is, what SERV is, and then we'll discuss early college in Indiana and how that is different and then a lot of states that we deal with. We are fortunate to be able to go throughout the country, and we've learned how early colleges work in several states. But what you should know as a person who's attending this is that early college in Indiana, most of those schools are located in comprehensive high schools, as opposed to early college that's on a college campus, or early college, which is the standalone building. We have examples of those in Indiana, but most of ours are take place, or the programs take place within comprehensive high schools. And I think that makes Indiana just a little different than most. We're going to talk about the types of supports that are provided to the schools who are part of the SEL network, and our what it is that we do at SEL to help to operate those quality high schools. We hope that you understand after going through our discussion today how our endorsement process works at SEL and within the state of Indiana, and the various ways that we promote supporting our schools and their students in order to maintain their early college endorsed status.
Tell you a little bit more about SEL. We've been in existence since 2001, and our home has always been the University of Indianapolis. We originally started by a grant from the Lilly Endowment based in Indianapolis, And they asked universities across the state if they could create a center of excellence, what would its focus be? And our university was fortunate to receive funding for 2 of those centers, which are still going, unlike at many other of our colleagues in the state. And our 2 choices were education, which is SEL, and another one which focuses on aging. So both of those are alive and well. But in our 20 plus years, we've had a variety of initiatives across our state, mostly focused on K through 12, and we try to bring innovative practices to schools in Indiana so that they better serve all students. And we also have a reputation as being a neutral convener because we're not partisan. We don't favor any certain group over another. And we also are asked oftentimes to network and convene different groups together so that they can work together, and we help facilitate some of those things. Next slide, Steve. Here are some of our recent initiatives. STEM Teach is an exciting one that has been refunded, I believe, 6 times now. And this is an initiative that provides graduate courses so STEM teachers can be credentialed in dual credit. And this is a partnership with the Independent Colleges of Indiana and SEL, and has been funded through our state legislature. And from that grew Teach Dual Credit Indiana, which takes care of all the other disciplines, the liberal art disciplines in terms of teacher credentialing. And our partners for that are an organization called InvestEd and the Indiana Commission for Higher Education. And from that grew 2 other ideas. One is iSeal for special ed licensure. It's a great way that we connect a bunch of universities in our state to offer special ed courses for people interested in getting that license. And now ITEL is the same for English language learner instructors. PCAP is another new one for us, and that if you've heard of the PTech model, this is the Indiana version of that. And our biggie lately is the Indiana Literacy Cadre. We've been fortunate to receive a very large grant to kick off the K through 3 emphasis on the science of reading across our state. So we have coaches and liaisons all over our state working on that. So I'd like to give a little bit of background on early college in Indiana. So our timeline is, this was initiated, SEL was awarded a Gates grant back in 2003. And this was, the purpose was to transform large high schools into smaller schools over 5 years. And there were several models that we focused on. Early college was one, New Tech High was another one. And the one that has lasted is early college. In 2007, we received funding, another set of funding from the Lilly Endowment, and this helped us launch our early college initiative. We did our first endorsement, which might be translated as accreditation to a high school in 2008. And since that time, I think we're at 55 now endorsed high schools across our state. In 2019, we were fortunate to receive a federal EIR grant, a mid-phase grant for 5 years. And this allowed us to form the Rural Early College Network, which I direct. And we involved 20 rural Indiana high schools across the state in this network. And we're in year 5 of that, and we're sad to see that project end, but it's been a very successful adventure for us. A spinoff of RECON has been what we call UCAN, or the Urban College Acceleration Network. We were excited that our Indiana Department of Ed called one day and said, we've been watching what you're doing with those rural schools. Would you do the same thing for urban high schools in Indiana? And we said, well, if we had some money, we'd do it. And sure enough, we received $4 million from our state to start this network. And that involves 16 urban high schools across Indiana.
And thanks to Janet, she was my mentor in my early college journey. So everything I've learned probably came from something that she dreamed up to start with. So we've done research, and since the beginning of our early college in Indiana, the program is based on these 8 core principles. So a targeted student population, we usually say this is the middle group. We target the underserved students, free and reduced students. Not to say that other kids can't be involved, but that is the target group that really needs this type of program. The curriculum plan of study comes in place once the higher ed partner is identified that will deliver the majority of the dual credit offerings. We also expect early colleges to have a strong college going culture, as in not if I go to college, but when I go to college. And our interpretation of college is anything after after high school, so anything post secondary. We know that for college classes to be considered dual credit, they need to have the same rigor as those classes do on campus. So we really stress rigorous instruction and a lot of collaboration with our higher ed teachers. We also know that many of the students that can do college work need a lot of support. If they're first generation students, their families need support. They need support in just learning the basics of how to be a student, how to be a college student. So having a robust list of supports is very important. Collaboration and partnerships. The main partnership, of course, is the relationship with a higher ed partner, and many of our schools have 2 or 3 higher ed partners. We like for them to just have one main partner for the delivery of the dual credit courses. Leadership and staffing in a high school with a large master schedule, it's important that the early college classes are scheduled in a way that students don't have schedule conflicts. And also the whole idea of a leadership team guiding this. This just can't be something that the counselor does. It needs to be a group of leaders, administrators, counselors, and teachers that address the development and the continuation of the program. And then we say this is the last one, but there's really is an important one throughout, and that is the use of data and collecting the data, not just to collect it, and it needs to be a different kind of data than school-wide data. It needs to be more course level data study, as well as data that relates to the early college program itself. So the structure, we like to say early college will work in any kind of a high school, and we truly believe that. So it's a flexible model, and you can see Steve mentioned in the circle diagram there, he mentioned that we do have one on a college campus, Ivy Tech in Evansville, but we have some schools, our large schools, have it as a school within a school where there's like a wing of the school, and they may have, a fourth of their student body is in the program. There's a set group of teachers, a counselor, and administrator that oversees that school within the school. We have some schools that are a separate school, whereas all the schools, all the students on that campus are considered an early college high school. And then we have 2 types of cohorted groups. One is a recruited cohort where schools really dig down and go into 7th grade and 8th grade and really recruit our targeted student population and create the early college program that way. Another type of cohort we have is an open cohort, whereas any student coming in who meets the admission requirement, the placement exam, is able to be in that type of a program. You really just need to determine what works best for the school. Some schools' needs are different in that, they may have a lot of AP courses, but the underserved students are not taking those courses. They may have their whole student body who is in AP maybe are not scoring as well as they need to be able to get credit. So it just kind of depends on what the need of the school is. But regardless, what we are looking for our true endorsed early college high schools are all of those 8 core principles that we talked about before. So other key information you might want to know, in Indiana, it's a state requirement that every high school offers at least 2 dual credit classes. And I think majority of our schools are far beyond that, offering several dual credit classes, including career and technical dual credit classes. The tuition is capped by the legislature at no more than $25 a credit hour. And as we've said before, the majority of our schools, our early colleges, are within a regular high school. And one thing that makes us a bit unique, we have one community college system for the entire state, and that's Ivy Tech Community College. It has, over 100,000 students in it. And we do have one other community college, Vincennes University, but our largest higher institution for community college is Ivy Tech. And then right now, our three main dual credit deliverers and early college partners are Ivy Tech, as I mentioned, Vincennes University, and Indiana University. So I think this is still me.
Yes.
Yeah. So I get to talk about the Indiana College Corps. We are so blessed in Indiana. Since actually 2012, our legislature had the wisdom and foresight to see that something needed to be put in place so students weren't, when they transferred as college students from college to college, they weren't losing out on credits. In other words, so, if you take our psychology class, but you transfer to a different state university, you have to take their psychology class. So the legislature passed a law for a 30-hour block of classes that would meet the general ed requirement in all state universities. It's morphed through a couple titles, but it's now called the Indiana College Corps. And it's based on the competencies that all of these courses, students who are successful in these courses will have these competencies. It can be earned through a combination of AP courses, IB courses, but for the higher ed to issue the credential, it's actually a technical certificate, a 30-hour credential. For the institution to provide that, 15 of the 30 hours must be dual credit from that specific institution. So our commission has a really lofty goal, and they want to see that that 70% at each year of an increase of schools offering this. So right now we're well on the way there. I think that 141 is actually up to over 200 schools. And as you can imagine, the big challenge is getting credentialed teachers that have the master's degree or a master's degree in 18 hours in the content. So the whole hope is that we're going to produce high school graduates with some sort of a credential by 2028. So, okay.
I'd like to talk about my favorite thing, which is Reckon, or the Rural Early College Network. As I mentioned before, this is a grant we received in 2019, and it involves 20 schools, but 5 of those schools are called mentor schools because they are already endorsed early colleges. And each of those mentor schools was assigned 3 partner schools that are wanting to be or in the process of trying to become endorsed. And so in the first 4 years of Reckon, we organized the mentor and their 3 partner schools equals a quad, and those were organized geographically. And thus, a small school of 200 might be in the same quad as another school with 1,500 students. As we listened to the conversations, we found that sometimes it was difficult for them to relate to each other because of their differences in sizes and staff. So that what we learned is that we needed to make a change. So this year, we have reorganized all those quads by school size. So one quad is for schools of 1,000 or more enrollment. Another 2 quads are 200 to 450 in enrollment. And then 2 other quads are 451 to 999 in enrollment. And that is working beautifully this year. We have different types of meetings. We'll do role-specific meetings where the counselors go off and talk together, the teachers go off and talk by subject area, principals and assistant principals get together, and then they bring their higher ed partners as well. And so they will also have a time to go talk, and we help with those discussions in each meeting. And that is by far the favorite part of our meetings. We have network meetings, which are all 20 schools come together at once. And then those are once a semester, and those quad meetings are also once a semester. So twice each semester, we are meeting with all of our schools. Each school was also asked to form a school leadership team of 5 to 10. And we required that at least 5 people had to be on there, the principal, the counselor, some dual credit teachers, and their higher ed representative. They could add to that 5 and most average 8 people on their leadership team. They meet monthly and they work on their early college implementation and refinement. Professional development has been a key for us, and we do it in many forms, and it has helped in terms of our growth and for the schools to sustain their early college programs. And so one of the goals was to try to get at least 10 of the 15 partner schools endorsed by the end of Reckon, which will be next September. And we have 14 endorsed, and one is going to go through endorsement in April. So we think we're going to hit that mark. So we've exceeded our expectations on that. And we've also provided funding to each school. Each year was a little different, started out high, and each year went down a little to work towards sustainability. But funding to help with incentives to credential teachers to get the training and then to teach dual credit courses were an essential part of this grant. Some spinoffs from Reckon I've already mentioned. We have the UCAN, the network of urban high schools. They have modeled it off of the rural version and have done many of the same things and made even faster progress because they learn from our lessons. And then they also have 4 mentors, and the rest are partner schools. And then we also received what's called a 3E grant, which stands for employability, enrollment, or enlistment. And so SEL received a grant for that, and that's how we started our PCAP, which is a version of P-TECH, and we have 4 schools doing that, and they're all from the Reckon network as well. Good success with that one already too.
So now we're going to talk a little bit about our endorsement process for all of SEL's early colleges, which Janet mentioned when she talked just briefly about Reckon, and that we are on number 20 of 20 that's going to be endorsed this year, which was a part of our Reckon group.
Whatever you want to do.
14 out of the 15 partner schools. So we're excited about that. But so we just want to give a little overview about the process. And interestingly enough, Janet, even though she's been at SEL for quite a long time, she's still involved with the endorsement process. And Sandy and I are smack dab in the middle of that process as we speak today. So we can answer any questions that you have over our endorsement process. The components. Essentially, and Sandy and Janet did a fantastic job of mentioning this. Implementing those core principles, everything revolves around those 8 things. In Texas, they have their blueprint with the 5 pillars. We have the core principles, and we have that to 8. So whether or not it's in a school within a school, like Sandy mentioned, the different structures, or it's a recruited cohort, we're trying to serve as many schools and as many students as we can. In September, high schools that are interested in going through the endorsement process, they complete a data overview, and we're sent a letter of intent from the principal. It's signed by the superintendent that says Indianapolis High School wants to be endorsed. Here is our data from last year. We review that data, and we let the school know whether or not that they can continue. When that happens, they begin compiling a school portfolio. And I'm just at the edge of the age group where I still like a good binder, right? And I'm sure there are some of you out there that still like a good binder. And in fact, where I was high school principal, we did a binder the first time around. But the second time around, and where we are now, we've still being nimble. As Janet mentioned, we are now in the digital age, and so they turn in a digital school portfolio to us, which is robust and takes time, and it's a great self-audit of the programming that you have going on at your schools. Continued, we review the portfolio. Sandy, as the director, she assigns who gets to to delve into each school individually. That person then creates a portfolio summary, and then we schedule a full day school visit, which we have one that's scheduled for Friday, where we're going to go down and we'll talk to higher ed partners. We talk to teachers. The school does a presentation. We ask questions of the administrators and the counselors. And then the first time through the endorsement process, we have parents in as well. And we find out, what's going on in your early college, how is it operating, and whether or not you can become endorsed. Detailed letter is sent. We do track the recommendations that we give, and the next time around, we'll be able to look at those recommendations and see what the school has done to meet those. All newly endorsed schools, we celebrate a special recognition ceremony in June. And this is great for those schools. You can hang a banner that's covered by media, social media is shared. It becomes a real matter of pride for those schools. And I know we said we have 55, but we are headed. We've already got a new endorsement already this spring, and we're up to 56, and we'll be well over 60 going into next year. Living documents, and I want to give a great shout out to as Sandy mentioned, for lack of a better phrase, but me being a former social studies teacher, I will say the grand poobah, the OG, the person who came up with these core principles, the ability of Janet, who's on our team, to continue to look at this and make changes and be in support of changes. I think that actions speak louder than words on this, and processes are continually evolving, and that comes from a lot of time talking, sending, reviewing. The rubric is going through a significant change this year, where feedback from our high school partners, feedback from our higher ed partners, the commission. We've made changes over that. And examples is what she had. Data principle is strengthened. Sandy mentioned program level data and course level data, and I would even add to that student level data, where we recommend a student that qualifies to be early college ready or to be college ready to qualify over several measures. And then what can the school do to help that student qualify? So we're getting through the first year of college without remediation. So data principle is being strengthened. School leadership teams, or SLTs, have been added to the part of, I don't want to say regular, but to the early college vernacular, where that is what's expected now. And we do want teacher representation on that. Maybe not even a dual credit teacher, but maybe a freshman English teacher has something to add. That's become part of our evaluation process. The endorsement process, we're also making changes because we go back to that living document. And some of that, quite honestly, is that, when you start out in 2008 with one school, and now we're up to over 60, and we have 2 full-time people that are working on this, and that would be Sandy and I. There is a need to streamline so we can continue to serve our schools effectively. We're moving the evaluation process from 4 to 5 years between re-endorsements. We're going to have a virtual option, but I will say we have some safeguards built in there where SEL reserves the right to come in and do the school visit if we deem necessary. And we're going to have some built-in proofs on that, on when we can do that. A change in leadership, or in our smaller schools, one teacher leaving the district can throw a monkey wrench into how the early college operates. So our endorsement process, our rubric, is continually evolving, and I think that's what has allowed SEL and this early college initiative to stay around for as long as it's being as Janet likes to say, the granddaddy of them all in terms of the SEL initiatives. So living documents are important. It's not just something, I know I said I love a binder, but you're not just going to put that process up against behind your desk and say, we'll address it in 5 years, because that's probably not going to work, and that's not what's best for kids.
Well, as you can see, Steve and I could talk forever about the benefits of early college endorsement. And since we are from the Hoosier State, and David Letterman, famous Hoosier, had his top 10 list, we could do our top 10 reasons for being an endorsed early college, but we won't do that today. So instead, we've got these are the items that really kind of link together as to the benefit. And really, it's a catalyst for us to address issues that are going on in the school. We find when we get our people together, we'll talk about early college issues, but they always branch off into other issues that they need to do group problem solving on. We convene network meetings and collective meetings. The collective meetings are for the endorsed early colleges, and that's where we get like groups together. Teachers, there's a lot of PD for teachers. If you get teachers together, dual credit teachers, and have them start sharing syllabi and labs and resources, it's quite a day. And we also collaborate, and we use this expression a lot. The power of the network is the network. You know, not very often do schools or teachers get to go and meet, and principals get to go and meet with other schools who are doing similar programming as they are. So just a real rich networking experience where people are willing to share, this is how we solve that problem, or this is what we do. We do provide some technical assistance for schools if they're a specific area that they're stuck on, or really sometimes just to get the early college program going. We provide that kind of assistance too. And then we work closely with our commission, Indiana Commission for Higher Education, on data analysis. Our endorsed schools send their list of graduates that have 15 plus early or dual credits to us, and then we share that with the commission, and then they track how those schools, or how those kids, what percentage of them actually enrolled in college, how many of them completed all their classes, how many of them needed remediation, and then we package that and share that back with the schools. So great information for them and their school leadership team to use. So just a little map of our state. We're everywhere. And the coding there is, the map is small, so it's hard to see, but we show our endorsed schools, and then we show our those pursuing endorsement. And usually, excuse me, that takes about, and that's a year-long process, starting in the fall, and then the endorsement visit in the spring. And then we have a group of schools that are emerging. And for some schools, it can take them 1 year to get this in place. For most schools, it takes 2 to 3. We really would like to shorten the time, and that's really what RECOD, one of the outcomes from the Rural Early College Network grant, has done, and that is shown us strategies for being able to have a school become a fully endorsed, high-functioning early college in a shorter period of time.
So our team at the Early College Research Center is providing evaluation for both the Rural Early College Network and Urban Early College Network. But at this presentation, I'm going to talk about Rural Early College Network. So as you've heard, the endorsement process is to get schools to implement the 8 core principles at a quality level, meaning that they have to achieve either a rating of 4 or 5 on the rubrics for these core principles. So when we evaluate schools, we collect all sorts of data, including the data from the state on course taking and student grades and their attendance and this kind of data. We also do student and teacher surveys, but we also do a lot of interviews with staff and students. And so the quotes that I provide here are from the interviews with staff. And one of the questions we asked, because the goal of the project, Rural Early College Network, was to get schools to be endorsed, which they obviously achieved, we asked them about the benefits of the process itself, the process that was just described by Steve. And so this is what we heard from people on the ground who went through the process. They said, first of all, the goal of being endorsed create a focus for the entire school team who is involved in early college and developing of early college. It created a motivation for their work, and they focused on this work and worked harder on improving all of the core principles. The rubric was very helpful because it really outlined and described all the expectations for the school, the students and parents, and was the school's guide for their actions. And then also SEL and the whole process and the creating of portfolio and the review created the sense of accountability to the schools. So they felt that they have to be held accountable for their actions. So they worked hard to achieve what they needed to achieve during the process. And next, please. So then we also asked schools and staff in the schools, what are the benefits of being endorsed? Why they wanted to be endorsed in the first place? And there are a few things that the staff said. First of all, in Indiana, students are not assigned to their local schools. There's no assignment. So students and families can choose which school to attend. So now that schools are implementing the early college at a quality level, it creates more opportunities for students, and this opportunity attract those students to the schools. So schools becomes more competitive for students and families, and it allows schools to market themselves better within their local communities. Also, staff in the school said that really they got this external affirmation that they do this work, early college work, at a high quality level. And then another benefit for the schools that they shared with us was that being a part of this network of endorsed schools where they can share things with each other and solve problems together and communicate with people in similar roles is very valuable.
And now we'll get to talk about some of the supports that we're able to provide. Here is a nice list that talks about some of the things that we do here. And again, we talked about Reckon, but here is the overall early college network. We have these meetings 3 or 4 times per year. And as Sandy said, we like to say the power of the network is the network. And Sandy also pointed out that school leaders from all over the state. And so if you looked at that map earlier, in the northwest corner of Indiana is, what's called the region, or what's known as the region. And we have schools like Hobart and Gary that are involved there. And we also have schools that are involved in the northeast side of the region, which is near Fort Wayne, southwest Evansville, and then southeast near Louisville, and then of course all around Indianapolis. So you have those educators, school leaders, teachers, counselors, even higher ed partners that they get together 3 or 4 times per year with an agenda that we create with input from our partners, and we share ideas. And it's just amazing how something that works in Logansport can be just as applicable as it can at Perry Central. We also send out newsletters that have to do with early college, and we've started to highlight a student and a program each time. New Schools Workshops, or Early College 101, where that's an outreach where we have a couple of meetings a year where we talk about early college and what it can do for students, what it can do for communities, how it can help schools and their accountability. And we hope to get schools to sign up. We always have to throw in there that we're not getting paid. There is no commission for Steve Combs to get schools to sign up to be an early college high school. It's just, it is not a new thing. It is the thing. And so when you have early college and you have those principles and you follow those principles, that's good education. That's a quality way to run a school, and schools realize that and they want to become a part of it. Informational meetings, site visits, phone consultations on the way home. Yesterday, the University of Indianapolis is located on the south side of Indianapolis. There's Interstate 65, which goes directly smack dab through Indianapolis. I live on the north side of Indianapolis. I was speaking with a principal in the southern part of the state about his early college program, and he had some questions, and those are just some of the things that we do, and that's an informal consultation. But you can imagine, folks, that during the pandemic, what some of those phone consultations were about. And it wasn't always early college. It was, how are you going to have prom this year? But that's where the network comes in. There are outreach events, on-site presentations. We've done those. Study tours. Those are fantastic. And I want to throw out a couple of study tours that Reckon schools and UCAN schools had an opportunity. And even we opened it up to the early college network at FAR San Juan Alamo ISD in Southern Texas, where they used to have a College for All conference there. This year, they did not have it and haven't had it for a few years, but they accommodated several schools and teachers, school leaders to visit their early colleges and what they do. RTI in North Carolina, also very accommodating to our folks. But we've been able to take our Indiana people other places, and this is how they do it there. And then that comes back, and that ultimately ends up helping their students. And one of the best things I think that the supports that we provide are visiting other early colleges within the state. If we see, for instance, a school that has a large ELL population and they'd like assistance, or another school that comes in, we have a couple schools that, hey, can we bring these people to school so they can learn about what they do? And that is also, I think, a great support. Network meetings are open to anyone that's gone through New Schools Workshop. Higher ed partners attend. I've kind of talked about this already. Network meetings are 4 hours. Professional development, you can see that. The network is the overarching structure for all the high schools involved. And so you don't have to be an endorsed early college high school to come to a network meeting. And in fact, there are, like Sandy mentioned, for some schools, it takes 2 or 3 and sometimes even 4 years to become endorsed. That's what keeps those schools involved with what's going on with SEL, with professional development, and what's going on at other early college high schools. Early college collective meetings, which is what we have tomorrow. These are meetings for endorsed early college high schools. And I want to plug something real quick, and that is that on purpose, the last 2 years, we have tried to involve teachers in a more intentional way. So we have staff members who are work on professional development for early college dual credit teachers, and that has not been anything less than wildly successful, because again, it's a good product, it's good education, and teachers, now that they're required to be on the SLT, feel more a part of what's happening at their schools. So we ask our schools to attend. There are some guidelines that we'd like for them to attend, and honestly, with Reckon and their meetings, that's kind of thrown us a little bit for a loop with the overall early college network and collective meetings, but they have been great programs for us the past several years.
So as Janet mentioned, the quad meetings that were birthed in Reckon We're so successful. And so as we grow in our state, we are planning to move toward these mini networks of 4 to 6 schools that will work collaboratively together on early college things. So that was a spinoff that we got from Reckon, and we think it's going to work really, really well.
Sandy,
Okay,
could you
next
talk a
slide.
little bit? I'm sorry. I think one of the key things about our quads is that they do problems of practice. Every school brings an issue in terms of early college implementation and presents it to the group. And we just brainstorm together solutions. And the cell staff usually stays quiet until the school folks are done sharing. And if we have any additional things, we'll say, you know, there's a school up the road that does da 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 that you might want to go visit. So we help make connections with that. But our problems of practice, they are one of the things they all look forward to. They want help and they learn from each other every time. And we're putting together a toolkit right now of the problems of practice generated over 5 years in the Reckon project, because we think it can be a great handbook for other schools coming along in our process. Thanks, Sandy.
Sure. So we, as Steve mentioned, we do a lot of PD and coaching with other throughout our network. We love to organize study visits out of state, in state. We actually, the study visit Steve mentioned, I think we took 70 educators to PSJA, which was a big trip, but it was very, very worthwhile. And then our culminating event of the year is our Early College Summit, and it will be on June the 5th. Last year, we had over 400 people in attendance, and this year, we would like to invite everybody on this call to attend. It is a full day. It's in the Indianapolis area on June the 5th.
So I know that we have only a couple of minutes left, so I just will very briefly again talk about what staff in the school said about the supports that CEL provides to schools. Well, first of all, everybody really appreciates the supports, and as a result of Reckon, which provided much more intense supports than early college in general, everybody could see that schools took much less time to become endorsed because of these supports. A number of teachers became eligible to teach dual credit courses, again, by some of the services provided by CEL, Teach Dual Credit and STEM dual credit courses provided for free for teachers. And then strong school leadership teams. Schools really appreciated them, and at some schools, they actually replaced the previous leadership structure that schools used in their previous endeavors. The next, please. So in terms of what people who attended various professional development and network events, what they said about what is there for them, they said that it was, first of all, an opportunity to articulate early college vision and really own this whole vision much more. It becomes their own vision versus something that was imposed on them. It was a building relationship and trust with colleagues, both within the school and across organizations. As Janet mentioned, collaborative problem solving was a big thing in these groups that try to solve real life problems with a group of people who are also have experience and also try to solve similar problems. And then the sense of belonging to something bigger than their just their own classroom. It's something, sense of purpose and going to this goal together with other people in the network. Next, please. Also, it was about learning that is relevant to what they are trying to do right now in their school. So it's sharing knowledge and resources with others in network who are doing the same thing, but also valuing their own expertise. They were not passive learners that somebody is talking to them. It's they're talking to each other and sharing their own expertise, and their expertise is valued. It's playing the active role in shaping network activities because principals of these schools in the network are always contacted by CEL staff about what should be on the agenda, what should we talk about in the next meeting. And also observing how other schools operate. People valued that a lot. That's it.
All right. Well, thank you, everybody, for joining us this afternoon. I do not see any questions in the chat box, but if you would like to contact any of us, Nina is our research person and can share those kinds of aspects. But Steve, Sandy, or I are happy to answer any questions you might have about our early college or our network setup, endorsement, any of those things. Thank you again for your time and attention. Enjoy the rest of your day.